Честь покутута Криста Кренко. Jak Oscar.
Yes, I bet you have.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I have a bad feeling about it.
Who shot first?
Yeah, I shot you first, you green son of a...
Hello and welcome to Who Shot First, the first ever Star Wars trivia game show podcast. I'm your host, Star Wars fan and comedian Dylan Hesp, and my oh my, you are looking great today. Now, on this month's episode, we have two fantastic special guests who will be battling it out in 4 fun and unique rounds of Star Wars trivia, all in the hopes of being crowned this month's Jedi Master. But that's just the start. Why not test your own Star Wars knowledge and join in the trivia? It's easy to do. Just score along with the show and tweet us your results at Who Shot First. And that's first like first place, as we would love to hear how you went on this episode. But anyway, that's enough of me. Let's get on with the show and meet our special guests. It's time to play Who Shot First. So our first guest on today's show is a freelance writer from America who's written extensively for Fandom Comics, Fantasy Flight Games, and even the official Star Wars blog. You'll recognise him as one of the writers behind the hugely popular Star Wars role-playing game series Edge of the Empire and Age of Rebellion, in particular his work on Sons of Fortune, Far Horizon, Stay on Target, and the Game Master's Kit. He was also a playtester for the Wizards of the Coast Star Wars role-playing game, and you can read his latest work in Fantasy Flight's games, Star Wars, Force, and Destiny. Now, if that's not enough, he was also an intelligence specialist in the United States Navy, which means if he's not teaching Star Wars RPG at a local convention, he knows exactly who is. It's Keith Kappel. How are you, Keith?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Now, welcome to the show, Keith. It's exciting to have you here. I have to ask you, as a writer of role-playing games, you write a lot of background material. So what's the character or creation you are most excited to work on?
Oh, man. Well, in one of the books I have coming up, Strongholds of Resistance, it goes into, like, different rebel planets and stuff.
Oh, cool.
I had to untangle the canon and continuity of Mon Calamari, DAC, some people might know it as.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, really challenging, just because there's been so much material out there. So trying to make all those stories work together was a lot of fun.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, our second guest today is a man who needs no introduction, but he's getting one anyway. He's a writer with an impressive bibliography in the Star Wars universe, with titles to his name such as Star Wars Empire, Knights of the Old Republic, and the Knight Errant comic series. And that's just the start. He's also the New York Times best-selling author of 4 Star Wars novels, Knight Errant, The Lost Tribe of the Sith collection, and a fan favourite, Kenobi, but most recently he was even chosen to make the plunge into the new line of canon stories with his fantastic novel, A New Dawn, which serves as a prequel to the hit show Star Wars Rebels. He's also written for nearly every franchise under the sun, including Mass Effect, Star Trek, and Iron Man. He's a comic historian, a title I presume he never imagined would have existed when he was a little boy reading Uncle Scrooge. It's John Jackson Miller. How are you, John?
How's it going?
Good. Welcome to the show. Nice to have you here.
No, it's good to be here.
Now, John, I'm actually a huge fan. I do have all your books sitting on my shelf here at home. But I was interested to ask you, as someone who's written comics for both Marvel and Star Wars, have you checked out their latest comics?
Oh yeah, it's definitely have given them a read, and it's really cool the way that they've been able to sort of fuse the Marvel magic and also Star Wars, to get some comics that have some sales figures that we just have not seen in Star Wars in forever.
Yeah.
And of course it's fun to see my work out again from Marvel with the Star Wars, the Old Republic. We did an epic collection this summer, which is the first third of the Knights of the Old Republic comic series is out from Marvel, and I presume they'll be doing more.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think, what was it? We saw some crazy amount of record-breaking sales for Star Wars #1 by Marvel.
It was over a million copies. It was crazy.
Far out. That's insane.
It was the first comic book to sell over 1 million copies since probably Pokemon back in 1999.
Wow. Does part of you kind of go, man, I wish I was still writing Star Wars comics? Or you're just excited for them?
Well, it's fun to be working in any part of the Star Wars universe, and of course, I've did quite a lot of comics over the years, for Star Wars, and it's one of those things where seeing the Knights of the Old Republic stuff coming out from Marvel now, who knows what the future holds? It could be fun to do that again.
Now, Keith and John, let's get ready to play Who Shot First with round one. So in round one, our contestants will each get to pick one category of questions to tackle and must buzz in to answer. Now, John, you'll be playing for Team Solo, and Keith, you'll be playing for Team Greedo today. So let's just double check your buzzers there.
Greedo.
Solo.
Awesome. Now, Keith, you actually have the first choice out of the 4 following categories of questions. So you have category number 1, which is Sci-Fi What Now? Who Am I? Character questions. Crazy Old Hermit, questions about the Old Republic. Lost a Planet Must Obi-Wan Has, geographical questions. Or Pure Sabak, questions about Star Wars gaming.
I'm going to go with the geography.
Yeah, sure. All right, well, here we go, guys, for our first category for round 1. Lost a Planet Master Obi-Wan Has, geographical questions. All right, hands on your figurative buzzers there, guys. Let's get into it. So question number 1, how many planets are visited in the film Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
Greedo.
Keith.
3.
Correct. Well done. Question number 2. According to legends, where would I be if I went to the smuggler's moon?
Greedo.
Keith.
That's Nar Shaddaa, right? The
Yeah.
moon in Nal Hutta?
Yeah, well done. Correct. Question number 3.
Now, Star Wars is the one with the talking apes, isn't it?
I think you may be on the wrong one.
That's okay.
No, you're doing well. Question number 3. Corellia is the homeworld of which key character from the original trilogy?
Solo.
John.
Solo. Solo.
Yeah, that's correct.
See,
Han Solo.
that was a gimme. That was okay. There we go.
Nicely done. Question number 4. The border dispute on Ancion, first mentioned in Attack of the Clones, was detailed in which novel?
Oh, I can give you the author.
That's a good start.
I can tell you everything about the book except what it's called.
I'll give you a clue to both you guys. I think you've already figured it out, Keith, but it is by Alan Dean Foster.
That's a fact. You know what? Greedo.
Keith.
Approaching Storm, right?
Yeah, well done. Correct. And question number 5. The planet Lothal from Star Wars Rebels is similar to Tatooine in what way? A. Both planets have 2 suns. B. Both planets contain moisture evaporators. Or C. Both planets consist of only one type of terrain.
Solo.
John.
Both C, one type of terrain.
I'm very sorry. You're close. Keith, would you like to buzz in for a crack?
Then I guess I'll go with B.
You are correct. Both planets contain moisture evaporators. Now, John.
Yeah. I guess we'll go with our Old Republic one. Why not?
Sure. All right. Let's see if you guys are crazy old hermits. Question number 1. Mandalore, the homeworld of the Mandalorians, was also a title given to whom?
Solo.
John.
The leader of the Mandalorians.
Correct. Question number 2. Mark Hamill recently returned to Star Wars to voice which Old Republic character in the Clone Wars? I'll give you a clue. He's late, Old Republic. Very, very late.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
That's right. The correct answer was Darth Bane.
Really? Oh.
Question number 3. Kevin J. Anderson and Tom Veitch are known as the creators of the first ever Old Republic story material. What was it called?
Solo.
Greedo.
John.
Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi. Well done. Question number 4. How many novels were released by Del Rey as a companion to the Old Republic video game?
Greedo.
Keith.
Let's go with 4.
Correct. Well done. Now, there is a chance here to earn some extra points. Can you name any of those novels?
No, not off the top of my head. I can't come up with that. Oh, wait. Revan was one of them.
Yeah, well done. Revan, nicely done. So question number 5, guys, for Crazy Old Hermit. First seen in the video game Knights of the Old Republic, what was the name of the predecessor to the in-universe card game Sabak?
Solo.
Oh, I think that was Solo there, just closely. John.
Yeah, it's Pazak.
Pazak, well done. So, Keith, I wanted to ask you, you've been writing for Star Wars role-playing games for a while. For those who are listening who have never actually got into RPG, What is it? How does it work? Like, how do you explain it to people?
Sure. So what I would call it is that it's an improvisational, interactive group storytelling game.
Okay,
So like
yeah.
if you ever gone to a comedy show and watched the actors do like an improv show, it's kind of like that, except instead of for an audience, it's just you guys at a table, and you're kind of making up stories in the Star Wars universe with your own characters as you go.
Yeah. So therefore, like, is it very, because you've done other writing as well, is it very different to other writing in the sense that you're not just writing material, but you're writing material that people can use to craft into their own story?
Yeah, I mean, I went to college for writing, and they teach you how to write all sorts of different things. And this is kind of a unique form of writing. I think it's kind of like writing. Sometimes it's like writing travel guides for fictional places. Sometimes it is a little bit more narrative when you're crafting an adventure for someone else to run and play through. And sometimes it's just like writing like a Wikipedia article entry when you're just sort of detailing what a character is and what they're all about.
Yeah. So how did you get into doing this? I know as a long-time Star Wars fan, it must be like a dream come true, really.
Completely. Actually, it was 2011 maybe, and Fantasy Flight Games held an open call for freelance writers. And me and my longtime website partner from Fandom Comics, Ryan Brooks, we both applied through the open call, and we just got lucky. Our names got pulled out of the hat, and
Wow.
they keep hiring me for jobs, so they must like me.
Yeah, either that or they haven't manned up to talk to you about it. But
Possible.
yeah, possible. And also, I was going to say, like, for example, maybe not so much with some of the Rebellion writing you've been doing with the RPG, but with the Edge of the Empire series and some of that stuff. How, like, has your involvement in the Navy actually influenced any of your work at all?
Well, for sure. I mean, I was an intelligence specialist, and I worked at Naval Space Command for a part of my tour.
Okay.
So there's definitely like elements of the job training and just the experiences I had that I bring with me to my writing anyway. I mean, as I'm sure John would agree, as a writer, anything you've done in your life, it probably finds a home somewhere or influences something in stuff you're writing. But Age of Rebellion actually probably gets it the most, just because being on an aircraft carrier is not unlike what I imagine being on a Star Destroyer or a Mon Calamari cruiser would be like.
Yeah.
So I find I could relate to that game line really quickly and easily. Oddly enough, I'm also a bartender for a lot of my time. I've been doing that for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And that experience probably plays in more to the Edge of the Empire side. So.
Yeah. Well, we see a lot of that in Star Wars, don't we? Especially, the whole, like Star Wars being this used universe where it's filled with scumbags and scoundrels. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, sounds weird, but pubs are a huge part of the Star Wars universe, really.
No question. No. And if you look at some of those bars behind them, it looks like Star Wars invented the on-site microbrew, right? Like on Tatooine, he's got like, it looks like a whole still behind the bar.
Yeah. He's got like the Tatooine craft beer where it's just got a little bit of Womp Rat in it or something like that. That's cool.
For sure.
Yeah. And your latest project, which has kind of just come out, which is the Force and Destiny rule book. It sounds really exciting because it's actually, so the other ones were more about smugglers and about the rebels. This one's more about Jedi, am I right? Kind of post Order 66.
This is definitely the one fans of the game have been waiting for, because it gives you all of the Force rules in depth to play as a Jedi, or somebody aspiring to be a Jedi, more likely. And it was a lot of fun. I worked on the Galaxy chapter, so I wrote I tour people around the galaxy and explain the geography of it, and what planets you could go to as an aspiring Jedi, what interesting things you might find there.
Yeah.
And help people playing the game set themselves in the location, so that even if you aren't like a Star Wars expert, you could just read through this chapter of the book and kind of feel like you have a good feel for the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah, so the idea isn't so much for it to be like deep Star Wars lore or information, but just kind of like enough to get the imagination going. Is that kind of the idea, to get people involved in it?
Yeah, I would say even if you've never seen a single movie, you could still have an incredible time playing this game, just knowing what people know in the common knowledge, what's common to pop culture everywhere. Like everybody knows Vader was Luke's father or whatever. If that's all you know about Star Wars, blasters and lightsabers, like that's enough. You'll still have fun playing.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
Excellent.
cool. Well, I know for one, I'm about to play my first role-playing game next week. But if you are listening and you sound interested, make sure you check it out at Fantasy Flight Games because they're a heck of a lot of fun. Hey, gentlemen, we're going to keep moving with round 2, Idiot's Array.
Not so fast. It appears I have an idiot's array.
Now, in Idiot's Array, contestants will each be given 3 quotes and 3 characters from the Star Wars universe. Their challenge is to correctly identify which character said which quote. Each correct match equals 1 point. Now, John, you get to go first this round. Are you ready for your Idiot's Array?
I will do what I can.
Well, here we go. First of all, your 3 characters are Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, and the old man himself, Master Yoda. So there's your 3 characters, and you have to match them up with these 3 quotes correctly, so you can get a total of 3 points from this round. So your first quote is, "Your focus determines your reality." Your second is, "That is why you fail." And your third, "I have a bad feeling about this."
Okay, let's see. That's why you fail is Yoda.
Correct?
The focus determines your reality. That's Qui-Gon. And that leaves Obi-Wan with the third quote.
Well done. 3 points. What a cracking effort there, John. Keith, you're up next. Are you ready for yours?
I'm ready, but John's railing. I'm a little concerned.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, that line from Yoda is one of the few lines he says where it actually isn't garbled grammar.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
He was actually grammatically correct in that one bit. Yeah. All right, Keith, your 3 characters today are Darth Vader, Yoda, and Count Dooku. And here's your 3 quotes. The first quote is, "I sense great fear in you." The second, "The Force is strong with this one." And the third, "Fear is the path to the dark side."
Oh, man. All right. It just feels tricky because I feel like one of those has been said by 2 of the characters. But I'm going to say "I sense great fear in you" is... I know Yoda says it, but I'll say that was the quote for Dooku. Sure. And then the other fear quote I'll say was Yoda, and then "the Force is strong" in this one I'll say is Vader.
Keith, you've done it. 3 out of 3 points. Congratulations. Well done. That was awesome. Now, the reason it sounds so familiar is Yoda actually says in The Phantom Menace, he says, "I sense much fear in you." So like it's so
Fair
close.
enough.
It's only
Tricky.
only different. Yeah, exactly. Well done, guys. So at the end of round 2, our scores are, we have John on 7 points and Keith just ahead on 8 points. Now, John, I mentioned at the start of the episode that you have a huge bibliography of Star Wars work. And personally, I'm a big fan. I especially love your novel Kenobi. But I'm interested to know, for you, what has been your favorite Star Wars project to work on?
Oh, there have been so many different ones, that were fun in different ways. I mean, certainly, Kenobi being the book that it was, and being so different from all the other stories that are out there. And also being the book that I probably spent the most time trying to get published because it was something that took several years to develop. Certainly, Knights of the Old Republic. I lived with those characters for several years, and being able to develop as much of their world as I did. And then, of course, New Dawn, the fun thing about that is simply being able to be there on the ground floor of things. It's kind of funny that most of what I know about Rebels is stuff from before any animation was done. So each one of these things has been a different experience, and they've all been fun and enjoyable in different ways.
So I was going to ask you about A New Dawn because it's actually just about to be republished as a part of a collection called Rise of the Empire, alongside some other fantastic novels and short stories. So what was that process like? Because this was kind of, this was at a time where the canon legends changes had just occurred, and how did you approach writing it?
Well, they hadn't occurred.
Oh, right.
yet. I began working with the Lucasfilm Story Group, and I also conferencing with them and with Dave Filoni, and I was getting notes back on the plots and everything from the other Simon Kinberg and Greg Weisman, the other executive producers of the series. So we had that involvement there, and the actual knowledge of the sort of introductory role that this book would have. I didn't find out about that until I was about 2/3 of the way through the book, and then they flew me out to Lucasfilm, and as well as Timothy Zahn to do a video about the EU, and basically from there it was a matter of just making sure that I had everything in sync with what they had planned going forward, and to the extent that folks have said that this the New Dawn novel feels like the Rebel series. Well, that's great, because again, I hadn't seen it when I wrote it.
Yeah. Did you find that difficult that you hadn't got to see anything, or did you feel like you already had such a clear picture of what the characters of Kanan and Hera looked like?
Well, they gave me a lot of material that they had come up with already, and certainly the conversations that I had with them about what the characters should be like certainly helped. Beyond that, of course, it's not my first rodeo. I've done, I did the. I remember I did the adaptation for the Indiana Jones movie for comics, and we had no earthly idea what any of the big set pieces were going to look like.
Oh, wow.
Until later on, and so that was one of those things where the first half of the comic book adaptation looks a lot more like something from my imagination than the second half, because the second half, by that point, we had a lot more visuals that had come in from the staff.
So from all the writing that you have done, you've written a lot for comics or books. How do the two differ?
Well, comics are a lot more like a relay race, because I get to hand off the baton every so often to other people who are going to be working on these things. Whereas the novel is very much a marathon, and I'm doing all the work. Me and the editors and the folks with the licensing company. It's much more all on me to work. And so, for example, I'm in the middle of writing a trilogy now for a different franchise. It's actually for Star Trek. The trilogy is called Prey, and it's a series about the Federation and about the Klingon Empire, and it's going to be coming out at the end of 2016. Right there at the end of Star Trek's 50th anniversary year, and at the beginning of Star Trek: The Next Generation's 30th anniversary year. So that's obviously a very big job, and so I am learning to pace myself there, because that's going to be like running 3 marathons in a row.
So how do you approach that? Because differently to writing Star Wars, because do you get what I mean? Like, I find it interesting now that we have the director of the Star Trek reboot, now directing Star Wars as well, and I'm sure for him it's the same thing of how do you approach two things that are both set in the context of space and do it differently so that you don't change those themes and that feeling, so that, because do you know what I mean? You don't want someone to read Star Trek and they go, oh, well, this feels like Star Wars. And you don't want someone to read Star Wars and go, this feels like Star Trek. How do you balance that?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, you kind of know a Star Trek story, the feeling of it when you see it. Same for Star Wars. And I remember back as a kid reading individual issues of the Star Wars comic book and thinking, well, this might have been a better Star Trek story. And so I have always had this notion while doing Star Wars that I really shouldn't move the science too close to the front of what the action was, because again, Star Wars is space opera, and again, there's another large difference is that there's Star Wars is more inherently about conflict, whereas Star Trek is about exploration. Although there certainly is conflict in it, and there's conflict in my books as well. But yeah, we have that going on, and just otherwise, it's a matter of just keeping straight the terminology and the technology. And I do have to say, as far as Star Trek is concerned, I love the transporter. It allows me to get from one scene to the next very quickly, and I don't have to worry about hey, this starship, it just doesn't look like it can really make landfall, does it?
Oh, that's really interesting. And for all our listeners, be sure to keep an eye out for that if you're interested in Star Trek, to check those out. But also Rise of the Empire, because A New Dawn, I highly recommend it. It's a great read. Hey, gentlemen, we're going to continue now with round 3 with Figure and Dan's Jams.
I think it works better as an instrumental anyway.
Now, in Figure and Dan's Jams, our contestants will each be played a quick mashup of 6 different music cues from Star Wars. Now, these range from the films and TV series to lesser known scores. The idea is for them to try and name as many songs as they can. They will be awarded 1 point for naming a song correctly, and another for naming where it appears in the Star Wars universe. Now, Keith, you're up first.
All right.
Are you ready for your 6 Figure and Dan's Jams?
I'm going to try.
All right, here we go. All right, Keith, that was your 6 Figure and Dan's Jams. What have you got?
I'm going to be terrible at this. Well, I think that first one was from Empire Strikes Back, like a Dagobah scene.
Oh, I'm sorry. That one's incorrect, but keep going.
All right. The second one, I'm pretty sure, was played on Cloud City in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, well done. Now, that one's actually called Lando's Palace, but I'm going to give you 2 points for that because that's a really misleading title.
Okay. The second one, I think it's from episode 3.
Yeah, correct. Do you have any idea whereabouts from?
I want to say it's like Anakin does something evil and then that plays, right? Like I think it's toward the end.
I was going to say that could nearly be the whole movie.
Fair enough.
No, yeah, it was actually Battle of the Heroes. So when Obi-Wan and Anakin are having their showdown. So you've still got 3 others. Have you got any ideas?
The next one I think was the speeder chase from episode 2.
Oh, nicely done. 2 points there, Keith.
And then the 5th one was the easiest one because I'm pretty sure it's Jabba's palace, right?
Yeah. So I'll give you 1 point for Return of the Jedi. Do you know the title of the song? It's a bit of an infamous track from Jabba's palace.
It's not Jedi Rocks because that's what they renamed it. So it's Lapti Neck or something like that.
Lapti Neck. Yeah, well done.
All right, I'll take it. And then the last one, I had no idea.
That's fine. So the last one was...
I could guess a movie though, right?
Yeah,
One of 6. I'll go with Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I'm so sorry. The last one was actually The Phantom Menace, and it was the death of Darth Maul. But well done. But you've earned yourself 7 points in that round. Nicely done.
I can't believe I got points out of that. All right.
You should be more confident with yourself, Keith. You've done well. All right, John, it's time for your Figure and Dan's Jams. Are you ready?
Not really, but that's okay. I'm going to be hopeless at this. I'm warning you now. I'm going to be hopeless at this. I got a C in music class. Let's go.
That's fine. Here we go.
Call me Toby Chicken, the look that thing. Oh, I.
Well, John, there were your 6 Figure and Dan's Jams. Have you got any idea what they might be?
Okay, let's see. Let me go in the order of the ones I know.
Sure. Yeah. Go in whatever order you want.
Third one is Yoda's theme there, where he's lifting the X-wing and Empire Strikes Back.
Well done. 2 points.
Okay. The fourth one is the celebration theme, end of Return of the Jedi, with the singing Ewoks that I think they ended up cutting.
Yeah, so that's right. So I'll give you a point for Return of the Jedi. Is there any chance you know the title of the track? It's a bit of an infamous one. It is definitely the one that they cut.
I always remember it as the celebration theme.
That's right. I'm going to give it to you anyway because you got the fact that they cut it. It is Yub Nub. Well done.
Okay. The other ones, I'm just going to have to give you a guess at the movies.
Yeah, sure.
The first one, I'm going to guess it was Return of the Jedi. I don't know.
Yeah, well done. That's correct.
Okay, I could not begin to tell you what it was from in there. The second one, I'm going to guess it was the second movie.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was actually the Phantom Menace.
By that I mean episode 2. Okay. The sixth one, I'm guessing that was episode 3. That's just a guess.
Oh, it was actually episode 2. You're close though, and there's one more in there, number 5 as well.
Yeah, that's from The Godfather Part 2.
Correct, 10 points. No, well done. That one, that Return of the Jedi one, that was actually from Jabba's Sailbarge. You also had one of the ones you were after. There was Qui-Gon and Darth Maul meeting on Tatooine in The Phantom Menace, the Burning Homestead in A New Hope, and the Tusken Camp where Anakin goes psycho in Attack of the Clones. So well done.
Thanks for being charitable. I am musically challenged, and I make no bones about that.
No, you've done very well.
I've been asked not to sing. So.
That's all right. I can't sing either. Now, I was going to ask you guys, as two people that are writers, actively writing in the Star Wars universe, I'm really interested to hear how you guys feel about Star Wars literature going forward. Like, John, you already mentioned about the fact that as you were writing A New Dawn, you know, Disney took over and some of those changes. And so obviously we're in a new time now with Disney taking over. For you, John, considering you've written material that is considered now both Legends and canon, does it feel like stories are being handled differently now?
I think simply the way they're doing things with the story group, you know, they have an idea of what's going on in all of the different media at the same time. So they know what the story is going forward, and they're able to both, you know, give us some guidance as to some possible ideas, some possible things where we can foreshadow other things in the future or tie into things. And then also, you know, they can work to avoid, possible potholes coming up later on.
Now, something I've heard you speak about a lot is the fact that when you write a story, you always leave it so that you wouldn't muck around with someone else's story in the future.
Well, I try to, leave as small of a footprint as I can.
Yeah.
Simply because I know that, if I accidentally or purposefully shut off some story possibilities for somebody coming along in the future, well, that person might be me, and I might wind up cursing myself for doing that. And also, it's just simply a matter of, whenever I'm, and it's not just Star Wars, but any franchise I'm working on, I'm always having to do research to find out, has this particular avenue ever been explored, and has it been shut down by something in the past? And, every so often I'll find the one sentence that somebody wrote someplace that ends up forcing me to rewrite lots of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so, I try to make sure that if I'm going to do something, impactful like that it's there for a good story reason.
So what about for you, Keith? Like, do you feel, so working on the RPG and a lot of source material there, does it feel different now that Disney are involved?
So when I started working for Fantasy Flight, it was definitely before the story group, but not too long before.
Yeah.
So the changeover and all that, it hasn't really impacted anything I do. I haven't felt any changes at all from my end, really. I mean, it's been easy. I haven't felt like I'm not allowed to reference anything in Legends, I can't get crazy. I can't start reincorporating like entire cut off video games or something like that. But I'm not about to start referencing plot points of like Pod Racer's Revenge or something like that. But but I haven't, nothing I've really put in, I've had come back is like, no, that never happened and we don't talk about that anymore. So I haven't seen it as a negative thing at all. I think it's been easy and great for my end. But I'm just the freelancer. It's probably my editors that have to rip their hair out when I'm referencing 20 things per page from Legends,
So I guess that's the thing about you both writing for what they call canon. And for those that are listening and trying to understand that, what it means is that now all storylines are a part of the same overarching storyline. Do you ever kind of try and sneak in little bits and pieces that you go, oh man, it'd be so cool to have that, be a part of the existing ongoing Star Wars story?
For me, how canonical the RPG game books are is still kind of a question we don't have 100% answered yet.
Yeah.
So in a way, I think because of that, it allows us to get away with referencing more stuff. Because I reference things like crazy. There's, like I said, there's probably 20 things per script page that aren't coming from research or somewhere else or whatever. But when your job is to write, 7,000 words about a planet that's never been seen on film and is only talked about in legends, well, what else are you going to do? So yeah, I mean, I reference it like crazy, and I reference little pet things that I just love from the Star Wars universe. General Kraken, who actually had an actor in Return of the Jedi, but it was all cut footage.
Oh, right.
Kraken is one of my guys who in the Legends, he was like the head of Rebel Alliance intelligence.
Oh, cool.
So I reference him in a lot of products.
What about for you, John?
Well, I learned pretty early it's not my sandbox, and once you create some things, you don't always have control of them anymore. So I remember being at the very beginning, I was tempted to slip in names of people I knew or something like that with the letters scrambled or something, for side characters or people that were only going to be mentioned once. And then I discovered that these characters immediately had pages on Wikipedia the next day, and then you can find things like you tell somebody, hey, this character's based on you, and then some other author turns that person into a serial killer. It's not necessarily Star Wars we're talking about here, but I mean this is just kind of sort of good horticulture for working in these gardens. Just being aware that it is fun to do some of these things, but really something where it's like Overdraft, which is my own series. I feel a lot more confident being able to slip a tribute in there to somebody or something and not have it come back and backfire. So
yeah, it's kind of I kind of get this image in my head of it's like a nerdy version of the Mafia, in that like if you do what I want, I'll give you a character in a Star Wars book.
Well, that's exactly what I meant. Godfather Part 2.
Yeah, it all comes together.
They can offer, you can't refuse. That's what it is.
Very, very true. So what are you guys excited about for Star Wars fiction? What would you like to see coming up in the future? We've got a whole bunch of new films, spin-off films. What do you want to see in the fiction world?
I am really looking forward to seeing Alan Dean Foster's adaptation of of Star Wars Episode 7, because again, I read that book. I read the Star Wars adaptation years and years and years ago. I think Splinter of the Mind's Eye was the first grown-up novel I ever owned. Although actually, I think my copy belongs to my sister, but that's okay. I'll get it back to her one day. But yeah, I mean, I'm, obviously I grab everything that comes out. I'm certainly interested in seeing, we've, the Captain Sloan character who's appeared in several stories beginning with New Dawn. We're seeing that character has been carried forward and will be showing up in Aftermath as well. I think we saw that in the sample chapter that we saw of that. So that's going to be fun to see too.
Wow, that's awesome. It's kind of amazing to think that like a character you worked on could now, could just go so much further. Do you know what I mean? Like you never know, that character could be in a film.
Well, yeah, I think the first year I was doing comics professionally, I created a character that wound up in the Iron Man movie. So
wow,
just a secondary character. It's not something where I get the action figure money or anything like that. But it's certainly fun to see.
Yeah. What about for you, Keith? What are you excited about for the future of Star Wars fiction?
Well, I don't know nearly as much about what's coming down the pipe as John does, but everything. I mean, I read all the stuff, but like, there's things I'd like to see that I hope they do. John's A New Dawn was amazing, and I loved it, and I would really like to see them do something else like that for Sabine or Zeb or some of the other characters from Rebels. Because they seem like they have a lot of interesting backstories, and I'm sure some of it they'll get into in the show, but I would love to see something like that. I'd also love to see a Lando novel, the events of Empire Strikes Back told from Lando's perspective.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I think that'd be a cool book. They could do whatever
I'd
they
write
want.
that would be a lot of fun.
I'm just thinking back to like the Mind Harp of Sharu and some of those, some of those classic Lando books. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, I think it's time for Lando to get a novel where he owns it.
Yeah. All right. We're going to have to start a petition then. We've already got a comic. Now we need Lando hashtag going so we can get a novel. That's a brilliant idea. That's
Agreed.
cool. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna wrap this all up with round 4. It's a trap.
It's a trap! It's a trap!
So it's our final round of Star Wars trivia for who shot first. 1 point for a correct answer and 1 point off for the wrong answer. Okay, here we go. Question number 1, quick fire. Famously, Peter Cushing, when filming his Death Star scenes, wore what instead of his costume boots?
Greedo.
Keith.
How about house slippers?
Correct. Well done. Question number 2. Which planet is practically destroyed by an orbital strike early on in the video game Knights of the Old Republic?
Solo.
John.
Terrace.
Well done. Question number 3. What Star Wars media project introduced audiences to space waffles?
Greedo. I'll say Shadows of the Empire.
Oh, I'm very sorry. It's actually Rebels that had space waffles.
Really?
Yeah, close one though. All right, question number 4. Sand people are known for walking single file to hide their...
Solo.
John.
Numbers.
Well done. Question number 5. Which X-Wing pilot piloted against both Death Stars?
Solo.
Greedo.
John.
That's going to be Wedge Antilles.
Correct. Well done. Question number 6. Admiral Motti's first name was inspired by which American comedian and talk show host?
Greedo.
Keith.
Conan O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien. Well done. He is Conan Antonio Motti. There's a mouthful for you. Question number 7. How many characters did the actor Silas Carson portray in The Phantom Menace?
Greedo.
Keith.
It was 2, right? There's Ki-Adi-Mundi and then the pilot of the Republic transport.
Well, you're actually incorrect, but I'm going to give you 2 points for those 2 correct named characters. John, would you like to have a go at 2 other characters that he portrayed in The Phantom Menace?
I would not. I decline.
He actually played Lot Dodd and Newt Gunray as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, amazing. So finish this quote. Aren't you a little short for a...
Solo.
John.
Stormtrooper.
Correct. Question number 9. How much money does Han Solo want in return for transporting Obi-Wan and Luke to Alderaan? Is it A, 9,000 credits, B, 10,000 credits, or C, 11,000 credits?
Solo.
Oh, John.
B.
10,000 credits, correct. And our final question, lucky last for the final round of It's a Trap, and our final question for this episode of Who Shot First is this. Coruscant, the entire planet being one big city, was described in The Phantom Menace by Naboo pilot Rick Ollie as what?
I got nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to say no also on this one.
He described it as an entire planet that was one big city. Well done, gentlemen.
Oh, well, there we go.
So we always have to make the last one a little bit tricky. So at the end of our 4th and final round, we have our final scores. So this is our closest episode of Who Shot First yet. Coming triumphantly in second place for Team Solo is John Jackson Miller with 17 points. Well done, John. Congratulations.
Yeah. This is how the Washington Generals feel like when they get beaten by the Harlem Globetrotters.
So therefore, the rest is pretty clear. This episode's Jedi Master, with a just higher score of 18 points for Team Greedo, is Keith Kappel. Well done, Keith.
Thank you.
You are this month's Jedi Master.
Hooray.
Hey, guys. I want to thank you so much, John and Keith, for appearing on the show. It's been a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah, good times. I loved it.
Definitely enjoyed it, and I have to say I have the Swiss cheese memory from all of my time traveling that I've been doing. That's quantum leap style. So I'm lucky that I even got that close.
Well, you've done well with the 1 point difference. You've done so well.
Congratulations,
gentlemen.
Keith.
Oh, thank you, John.
Nicely done. Now, please make sure you stay up to date with our special guests. Keith's latest RPG core rulebook, Force and Destiny, is available now at Fantasy Flight Games or at any good local game store. Plus, you can also stay up to date with his latest work in the Star Wars universe at krkappel.com or on Twitter at krkappel. Stronghold's coming soon. You need to check that out. That's some more work of his. And you can even support him at patreon.com/krakappel. As for John, you can find him and his latest fiction at farawaypress.com. Not only will you find his fantastic Star Wars novels like Kenobi and A New Dawn that we talked about today, but also detailed notes and background information on the writing process for his stories. If you're a fan of his work, you need to check it out. But you can also find information about his work in other franchises such as Star Trek and that new trilogy he's got it coming out at the end of next year, Iron Man, and whilst you're there, pick up his own original series, Overdraft, The Orion Offensive. Also, follow him on Twitter at JJMFaraway. But you can't just whip out a ton of group hugs for our guests and not include Who Shot First. Did you enjoy this month's episode? How did you score? Send us a tweet at Who Shot First, that's first like first place, and let us know how you fared against our special guests and who you'd like to see on the show next. And whilst you're at it, don't forget to check out the podcast on iTunes or at dylanhesp.com/whoshotfirst to subscribe for new episodes every month. And if you're new to the show, be sure to check out some of our previous episodes as well. You won't be disappointed. That is, unless your expectations are as high as mine are for The Force Awakens, then you might be disappointed. If you love the show, help us keep it going by leaving a 5-star review on iTunes and sharing it with your friends. Thanks for listening to Who Shot First. I'm Dylan Hesp, and may the Force be with you.
I have to shoot first! Han Solo, baby!